Tier list time, baby. Should we start from the bottom or the top? I think the bottom. Actually, I'll go through and kind of explain my thought process for each tier. So D is don't buy these. And it's not raccoon, obviously this is outdated. This is hare. Where it's like I do believe every pet has a situation to be good, including hare and frigate bird. But you would still just probably be fine or better off if you never bought them. So that's frigate bird and hare, not raccoon. And then sadly C is, it can be good, not usually good. So axolotl, I love him. But he's the same tier as poodle, and even if you have a dream axolotl board, most of the time poodle would do the same thing but better because you're gonna have like a toucan, a tar, maybe like a panther, and then your tiers are so spread out where poodle is still giving you more stats than axolotl is. And then of course, whale shark, my boy. Whale shark isn't bad. He's just usually bad. There are games where you have a high tempo bug start, like with tabby cat, ladybug, and beetle, and you can go into whale shark and you just win harder because you keep your tempo up from tabby cat and ladybug, and you're scaling. And then if it gets too late, you can just go a microbe, and then you can microbe the great equalizer, if you will. So he's takeable in rare situations. And then flying squirrel. Flying squirrel used to be an A tier, S tier pet, and then they nerfed it. So now the only time I ever buy flying squirrel is if like hare is my other tier up, and it's like it's 4-3, it's not bad stats. But really the only time I ever buy it is if I have a ferret balloon and then I duck sell. I get 2 ducks on a flying squirrel, and I have a mandrill in the shop. Those are the games I usually take it. Those are the games where I think it's a good take. Other than that, it feels really bad. You can take it with like with no mandrill, but you really do need the ducks for it to ever be really worth buying. And you also want to have like lasagna. With lasagna, it's still fine. It's a good thing to keep refreshing. It's better giraffe. But I don't know. You can't do the level 2 balloon build anymore, which makes it way worse than it used to be. And then Robin. Robin's okay. Robin got a buff. You get double egg. I think Robin's good in some very particular lines. It's temporarily good with like Al and Shrimp or just Al because it is more tempo on a 4 squad. It falls off quickly though. It's good with Mole because you can just if you get a Mole tier up and have like a Robin and a Rice in your shop, you can just buy the Robin, buy the Rice, buy the Mole. That's your turn, but you do get the Mole activation right away. Other than that, I don't think I don't really buy Robin. Also, these are ordered from lowest tier to higher tier, and if they're the same tier, I think like that's the order in which they're better. Angler is kind of not accurate here. I'd say Angler, oddly enough, is better than Lionfish, but I'll start with Angler. Angler is okay in the mirror. It's only it has rare use cases. Like when you get it good and it hits good, it can be game winning, especially into other matchups like Pack 3. If I take a Stegosaurus, the llama's not F tier, chum. We're getting the llama. It's not F tier, buddy. Llama good, but anglers, it's just all right. It has potential to be like a game-winning pet in the other packs. It can maybe help you like bridge the gap in a mirror if you both have dragon. You can like I have had a game where I stole his dragon with angler and got the level 2 dragon first, and whoever hits the level 2 dragon first wins in those those kind of games. Lionfish, oh boy, lionfish. It used to be the most busted fucking pet in the whole pack, and now it's kind of mid. It's the only time I really buy a lionfish is if I'm far ahead, I have a flashlight about the pop, and I have like a puma. Like you need a way to fast scale lionfish for his ability to be relevant. And it's you're usually going wide in pack 2 instead of tall. The fastest way to go tall is puma flashlight, so I'll still take lionfish in those situations. But most of the time you never get the lionfish to like a high enough stat lead and level where his ability means anything. And then there's Puma. Puma, hot take, is worse Chameleon. The Puma has one benefit over Chameleon, in which if you have a breaking toy, you can get that benefit from it on the like the battle stage, or not the battle stage, in the shop phase. So like TV, flashlight, like a lot of times I'll cycle a Puma just to get an extra TV or get an extra flashlight. But in terms of like, it also can do what Chameleon does or repeat the abilities. But there's certain interactions with weakness pets or things that remove items that make it not as good for that. So like, for example, you have Peanut Jar and Puma, and they have Bat. Your your Peanut Jar will go twice at the start of battle, so you'll give your front two guys peanuts. And then Bat will go off and can replace both of those peanuts. But if you had Chameleon, you get one peanut at the start, then Bat would go off. And since Chameleon's is a start a battle ability and Puma's is just repeat the toy, Chameleon will go after Bat as long as Chameleon has less stats. So your peanut, you'll get your peanut, a weakness will override it, and then Chameleon will activate and override the weakness with peanut. And it works the same if they have like a mantis shrimp and you have a coconut. Your coconut will go off, the mantis shrimp will pop the coconut, the chameleon will refresh the coconut. And I think that's usually better than having, at least in 1v1s, better than just having two coconuts. Being able to like play around that. That way you get your first unit to have what you want. Especially in the mirror with Bat. Like Chameleon ends up being better mostly because of Bat. Eagle is really good. Like all the tier fives are really good, other than like Axolotl. It's just in comparison to some of the other tier fives, its ability isn't that crazy. It is like a lot of times I'll pill an eagle as soon as I buy it if it's on 9. But if I have nothing else, no other good unit to scale, I'll scale an eagle. There's nothing wrong with it. It's still overall solid unit. It only has a 1 in 5 chance of dropping something good after tier 9 or after turn 9. So you can get Octo or Lionfish. Uh, Lionfish means you get an extra 3 damage. Octo means you get an extra 6. And so it's really only good if it drops Octo, which is a 1 in 10. So it's not that great in the late game for its summons. I mean, when you level it, it's okay. Snapping, I think snapping is really good, especially because of Panther. I think it's really good into pack 1 because a front skewer really fucks them up when they have a wall of melons. But a lot of the time, tar, like having the thing about snapping is you need Panther, and it's kind of similar to tar. I did not mean to zoom in there, but they have the same situation in which you both want them with Panther, and it ends up usually being better to have the pepper or the chili on Panther than the skewer. I mean, into pack 1, I think the skewer's a little better, but the big thing is Poodle's busted, and you can have Tar and Panther and with a Poodle board, and it's really good. And you can't have Snapping and Panther with a Poodle board, and it'd be really good. Next up is Garl. I think Garl is sick. The thing is, you got Foam Sword, Anti-Scorp Tech, it's pretty useful, and Toy Gun, which is good if they have like a turkey or something in the back, or even like a shark that they just buy. But the Toy Gun kind of is like a scam that works one time. They'll play around it the next turn. The best thing about the Garl is it's a 2 gold melon that you get 2 turns from now. And the only problem I have with it, unless I have a ladybug, say I find this ahead of curve on turn 5, getting that a melon then usually means like I'm putting it on something I don't want to keep, which kind of sucks. Unless I have a ladybug, or even sometimes you put it on the toucan and then you pill the toucan. It's just ahead of curve. He feels really weak. He's like a kind of sad tier up to C unless your board is in a good spot for him. So that's why he is the lowest tier toy. Though he does have good upside to things like level 2 Mandrill, Garl, because you turn your Mandrill into a turtle. It's really good. He's by no means a weak pet, but like he's awkward pet a lot of the time, and that's why he's the lowest tier toy. Even though his ability is like better than the lemur's ability, it's just the lemur on curve is better than getting the Garl ahead of curve, which is kind of why he falls here on the tier list. All right, Chum, what you've been waiting for. Also, Chum, I'm not saying llama's better than lionfish. These are organized from their tiers. You know, like all the tier ones are here, and all so on. So if they're the same tier, like I said, puma is better than lionfish. Lionfish is better than angler, even though I think angler might be better than lionfish. Their order only matters when they're the same tier. Otherwise, they're just ordered lowest to highest. But llama is good into a lot of matchups. It's not as good in the mirror, but the whole purpose of llama is this. When I go them, it's turn 5. I hit the llama ahead of curve. I then can put a croissant on him, and I have several turns to scale him. Ideally, I have Al, and then once I get to 7, I can salt him. And the situations in which I do that are usually when they have a big tier 3 or lower. So if they're going like big moth, big ladybug, like big elephant, and I realize I'm not going to be able to catch up to that scaling on whatever big unit they have, llama's good. He'll passively scale for a few turns, and then he's a good salt target. And I have Buffalo next to Llama because they have the same problem, in which they kind of need Owl to function. Like, I think Llama functions better without Owl than Buffalo does, but they both ideally need it, especially because my game plan with both of these units is to salt them and take out their big tier 3 or lower unit. On the goldfish. Goldfish, I used to everybody used to think it was so busted, and now it's like somewhere in between. I think but I think it's good into pack 1. I don't think it's good in the mirror very much. Like it's kind of it's a weird situation. Like if you find yourself on turn 5 and you can guarantee get to 9, but you have no, like, you can't see a way you can start winning fights. It's like a good last hope that I'll get a good turn 9 and I'll have a lot of money on turn 9 and I can like pivot with the goldfish. He's like a last hope. That, or at the same time, say you hit hard, you hit a level 2 moth and a hatching chick and you get a goldfish on 3. Odds are you can win with that because a goldfish is 1/5. You're gonna get your 4 attack from the moth and your 3/3 from the hatching. It all of a sudden becomes a well statted unit. So I think, and then you're probably gonna be winning a lot with a board like that, at least early. So if you're winning hard, you can also take goldfish. But it's if you have both have a close board state, at least in the mirror, it's not very good, and you end up having to sell it early, which can be fine. A lot of people take it to 9. And if you take it to 9 and you don't hit a pet that can't turn gold into stats, for example, Dragon and Ellie Seal, they can convert your gold into stats, which is what you need on Goldfish. And if you don't hit either of those, you whiffed your Goldfish and it sucks. But if you're winning with Goldfish, you can take it to 11 and then you can do a hell of a lot. Like getting a Goldfish to 11 is more game winning than getting it to 9. And most of the time when you go Goldfish, you had to sacrifice your board and like sacrifice good boards to have it, and you can't make it to 11. So it's usually not good, but it does have two situations where you take it when you're really ahead or you're really behind. And then Hoopy Bird. Oh, Hoopy Bird. I love Hoopy Bird. He's really bad into pack 1, and he's pretty like solid overall into every other matchup. It's just he's sucks if you're hitting your Hoopy into a hurt pet. It's bad news. You're giving it 2 triggers. It's not good. But other than that, it's a lot of stats, especially with compared to Microbe. You saw with the arena runs I was doing earlier. You can make your Hoopies faint. They'll like 10 damage with Microbe because you're doing 5 and 5. It's pretty good. Bro, I'm fucking streaming. You fucking message me in the chat or just wait. I'll check your DMs when I check my DMs. All right, the next is Mole. I love Mole. Everybody knows I'm the Mole pioneer. Everybody thought it was shit. I thought it was good, but I still have it in B tier. I have a formula for Mole, and it goes like this. If I tier up on 3, I will take the Mole if I have a Robin or a Beluga in my shop, because that means I can proc the Mole for cheap. That or if I get a double Mole. The thing about Mole is Mole has the potential to be the best tempo in the whole pack, but you have to hit level 2 Mole quick. So I only buy them if I have either of my other tier ups really shit, or if I have Robin or Beluga in the shop, I'll take him so I can get his proc instantly. Also, Beetle helps with that too. And then if I don't have Mole 2 by the end of turn 6, I get rid of the Mole. That's pretty much it. If you can get that Mole 2 early, you win, and if you don't get it, it usually sucks. Mandrill's an interesting pet. Because of the Flying Squirrel nerf and the Moza nerf, he was also kind of nerfed. He's still good. He does make, if you get level 3 Mandrill, he makes onboard Puma a lot better. Because Puma no longer works with Chameleon, but it does still work with Mandrill. And he's got you can get him to level 2 pretty easily. And once you get him to level 2, you really want to Garl, and then he just turns into a turtle. When he dies, he passes a melon back. That's pretty good. You know, other than that, you keep him on board. He's okay on board with like a Moza. It used to be a very good build to go Flying Squirrel Mandrill into Moza, and when the Mandrill died, it would proc the Moza's thing, so you get tempo out of Moza and permanent stats every 2 turns. With the Flying Squirrel nerf, it's not as good, and the Moza nerf, it's even more not as good. It's still a solid pet for turning it into a turtle. Other than that, it's alright. And then Tabby Cat. I think Tabby Cat might be the like most underrated pet on this tier list. Because the best start is Ladybug Beetle. And then one of the best tier 2s is Toucan. All of those have great synergy with the Tabby Cat. It's just a lot of tempo you can get out of this pet. And he is a decent attack stat when you buy him. If you buy him on turn 3, he's like, it's 4-2. It's decent. And if you're at least getting like 1 perk, he's giving 2 HP out. But where he really thrives is in specific boards when you have the Beetle, you have the Ladybug, or you have the Toucan. You can get a lot of value out of him. I also like ricing him a lot. Like I'll buy him and rice him. It's just for some tempo. And then I still kind of only do that when I have a Ladybug on the board. Some other reason to buy a perk. I think it's pretty solid. I've won a lot of sets with it. I think he really might be criminally underrated right now. Then we have Drom. Drom is good when there are lots of them. The thing about Drom is you have to. It's kind of hard to play. You need specific situations because one, you want multiple Droms, and then you have to buff something, and then you got to figure out how long do you want to buff it. And I'll either use Drom as like kind of like a lobster or a weird capybara, where I'll just like start cycling in the units that got drommed once. And by drommed, I mean probably by 2 droms. I almost always keep my droms separate. I will level them. I'll level them on 5 for one reason, and it's Doberman. The best drom line is you get 3 droms, you cook something like a bat, a beluga, or a toucan for 2 turns, and then you buy that unit. You combine 3 droms, you get a Doberman, and then you cook Doberman for as long as you can. That's the ideal drom line. It's kind of rare to happen, so it's not the best, but when he does work, he works very well. He's also pretty difficult to navigate, so that's why he's B tier. And then B is for Bat. That's the only reason Bat's here. Yeah, not really. I think Bat's good. He's just a 1-2. It's very. he- Late game, he's one of the best pets. In a lobby, he's one of the best pets. But with a pack that struggles with early tempo, putting a 1-2 on the board for like a random shot of it doing something useful is pretty bad. I pretty much only buy Bat when I've sold ducks onto it. And this is a common thing with a lot of like more mid units is I'll buy about anything that has 2 duck cells on it because duck's good. But I'll buy a Bat if I have 2 duck cells on it, and then I'll put a meat bone on it, and then it's a 3-4, and then it's all right. Other than that, I don't usually take it unless I drom cooked it. I'll drom cook it every now and then. It's pretty all right. Then we have Chipmunk. Chipmunk has a few uses in this pack. The main one is rice. If you get the chipmunk pair early, you take the chipmunks, you get a rice on it, then you get 2 more rice back. It's it's pretty useful. It's like a pseudo goldfish. The other route is taking a chipmunk to 7 and then using it for pies, which is a lot of tempo on 7, but a lot of lost tempo like turns 5 and 6. So I almost never do that. I almost always go the rice route. End up selling it on 5 to get like a better setup going into 7. So it's just kind of it's okay, but if you don't hit rice, it can be really mid. It's just an okay pet. Chinchilla probably criminally underrated on this tier list. I've done the legendary triple chinchilla start many times, and I have to sadly say I don't think it's ever been good. Like even when I hit the garlic early or some shit, it's just never good. I think the best use case of chinchilla is it's a cheap unit. When you sell both of them, you get 2 gold. So if I had already tied the first round or won the first round and I don't care about what happens on turn 2, I like buying a chinchilla the same way pack 1 players like buying pig. I get $1 back on it. It's just kind of a money unit. There is a chinchilla theory that me and Al agree on. I don't know if we came up with it, but we both agree with it that he is a decent scaling target because your general game plan is to scale one guy really big until you can hit wide scaling later. And Chinchilla ends up being really good for that. Not the Chinchilla itself, but the loyal Chinchilla. Because when you see another Chinchilla, you can buy it, sell it, and stack it. So you're basically getting a 2 gold apple for doing that, plus some XP to maybe get a tier up, and it ends up making it where you can kind of cheaply scale him and also get an easy tier up later again. He's just a very gold efficient pet, So he should be higher on this list, but when you're like behind, if you like lost round one, he's kind of untakeable. Yeah, Chum, you're kind of right. Regular chinchilla, C tier. Loyal chinchilla is A tier. So we meet in the middle and make him B tier. Beetle, though, Beetle's really good. The only reason Beetle's in B tier is not because it starts with a B, but because Beetle's only good to make Ladybug better. Beetle exists as an engine for Ladybug, and that's pretty much that it is. Like a Beetle by itself is kind of mid. He's like a terrible unit to scale. He's like just as bad as scaling like Whale Shark because at the without a microbe, you're gonna get an item and equipment deft every time. Like at most, your Beetle can have a garlic or a meat bone, and just scaling him, he's like one of the worst tier ones to scale. He just only exists to make Ladybug better. And then we get to Gecko. He's at the top of the tier ones and B tier. I think Gecko is the third best scaling target for a tier one because there's usually three tier ones you scale for a long time, and that's Gecko, Ladybug, and Moth. And I think Gecko is just kind of the worst out of the three, but he's still not bad. I just think in most matchups, it's better to have the high attack because Gecko's giving you HP, but we have Shrimp, we have Radio, we have Pangolin Pill. Like we have a lot of ways to get our HP high. We don't have a lot of ways to get our attack high, and that's why Ladybug and Moth just do his job, but way better as a tier one you scale early. Then we have the A tier, bottom tier six. Maybe this should be swapped with Sauropod. I think the order of these four A tier, tier sixes don't really matter. They're all really good. I think T-Rex was nerfed, but it's still very takeable. I mean, he's just 2-2 on your high tier pets. The only real downside to T-Rex is like if you had a decent board that has like a tier 4 or lower unit on it you want to keep. And T-Rex just requires investment of you have to get two tier 5s on the board, which is usually good. It's usually better, but there are times where it's not as good, like in a buy sell build or something. So that's why he's at the bottom of it, but he's still really good. He's a solid pet. Then Sauropod. Sauropod is good because equipment is so good in this pack. Is very needed. He makes it all cheaper. He has benefits with a lot of builds like Axolotl. I've won many games with Axolotl too, and just a Sauropod. And then in a weird way of looking at it, your whole shop becomes two gold pairs. You're allowed to buy three two-gold pairs in a turn, and that's actually pretty good. But the real way to make Sauropod good is with Seal. Without Seal, Sauropod would be way worse. He's just an engine that makes Seal scale faster. He is the goat to dragon. Like Sauropod is the equivalent for that to Seal. And Seal's a good scaler. He has some pros and cons to Dragon. I clearly rate him worse than Dragon, and I'll get more to that once I get to Dragon. But his benefits are he doesn't scale himself, but he does scale four other units, and he has an in battle ability that is pretty easy to use in the pack. If you have Peanuts, you can get double his ability stats in battle. You have things like Tar and Snapping. With Sauropod, he's really good, but a lot of the time he can fall short to things like Dragon. Then we got Mantis Shrimp. Mantis Shrimp is super good in the mirror. It is an anti-mongoose. You can't have a coconut in the front. You can't have weak shit in the front because a bunch of Mantis Shrimps will shred it. though we have lemon. Lemon's a good answer, but mantis shrimp is still good into every other pack that they don't really have anything they can do about it. Like mantis shrimp front steak, you're usually just killing that unit right off the rip. There's nothing they can do about it. Whatever they put in the front dies. Same thing, you can have mantis shrimp in a peanut, and then most other packs have no counterplay to that. It's just a very good tech unit. All right, now we have chicken. Chicken is good. It's just solid. It's a basically it's a 2 gold can that you can get more and more value out of. It's just a solid pet because pivoting is good, shop scaling's good, and chicken helps you do those things. Goat, ironically, is similar to chicken in that pivoting is good, and goat helps you pivot. Goat also plays well into a buy sell team with like Al and Buffalo, and then it ends up playing very well in the dragon. Like I said, it's like how Sauropod is the elephant seal, goat is the dragon. It really helps enable that pet to be even better. And since dragon is better than Ellie seal for the most part, goat is probably better than Sauropod. They're both situational. Like there are games where the Sauropod Ellie seal team is better, but most of the time a goat dragon team is better. Now Stonefish, he's a really good unit at dealing with a unit that's super tall and hard for you to deal with. Like if they have a giant tier 4 or lower, you can salt it. At base stats, it's doing 14 and then another 7 to them. So just buying it in assault is 21 damage. That's pretty solid. And then you can pie them. Then you get 22 damage. It's all around. It's just a good unit. It's really good at dealing with a giant. Panther, I love Panther. He's like a super versatile unit. Most games you're just putting a pie on him, and then you're putting a tar in front of him or a skewer in front of him. You get extra value. He's got a lot of utility. That's your average game, but there's a lot more you can do with him. You can salt him and make him do a ton of damage. You can stake him. A Panther stake kills about anything. He can do Stonefish's job actually better if you just put a stake on him. If you have him scaled, a lemon is 2 melons on him. The unit has a lot of versatility with what you do with the perks. It's super solid. Moza, I don't really like Moza that much anymore, but he's still, I guess, just objectively good. His level 2 is really solid. You're basically getting 2 free lasagnas every 2 turns because you have to wait for a toy to break. With the Mandrill and Flying Squirrel nerfs and Moza nerfs, he's a lot less good, and leads me to my next pet. I think I'd rather have a Poodle Scaler any day over Moza, but Moza's still solid. And then Chameleon. Oh, Chameleon. I almost put Chameleon S tier because there's Chameleon's the secret tech unit of Pack 2. You can use it to counterplay your counterplay. Like I said a little bit earlier about how you can use it against bat and you can use it against toilet paper. It's so good in the mirror. It's better to end on a chameleon than it is a puma because you can basically counter scam things like toilet paper and bat. He also plays really good into like I want to take flashlight or I want to take TV, but they're not tempo and I need tempo. And chameleon can make them tempo until they're permanent, and then you can get rid of chameleon. I think he's a super versatile pet. He's just all around very good. Tar, I've talked about Tar with Panther. It's super good. But Tar doesn't need a Panther to be good. It's also if you hit a Tar on turn 5 with a level 2 toucan, you're probably winning for a while. It's an absurd amount of tempo. It demolishes like summon builds and pack 4. Just throwing a chili back is good, especially when you have things like microbe. So you can weakness their whole team. And so you get the 8 damage chili splash. It's just all around really good. I'll hydrate Pride, thank you. Also, Venus, I'm not playing the weekly. I'm doing something for the dunk challenge, and we're doing a tier list right now. Lobster. Lobster's good. The same reason goat and chicken are good. Pivoting's good. He's like a 2 gold pair whenever units you're pivoting. It's pretty simple. He's good. It helps you pivot. Pivoting's good. And Doberman, I have Doberman as the best. Uh, Not the best tier 4. He's the best tier 4 of the A tier. Uh, Scaling Dober early, like I said with drums, even like with shrimp lines or just buying them and croissanting them, and then going into the pivot pets and pivoting everything but the Doberman, and you've been scaling the Doberman for a while, is a solid strategy. He's a really good unit. He gets 8 attack and a coconut at level 1. It's just super good. You can also, like, if you're going chicken, he's a good unit to end on if you have all tier 5s or higher. His only con is you do need um all tier 5s or higher. But I think he's good in a lot of boards because you can scale him with like a shrimp owl line and then get out of the shrimp owl. He's good with poodle because poodle, ideally you're getting 4 things of value, but 3 is more than acceptable. So you can go poodle, a Doberman, a tier 5, a tier 6, and then either another tier 6 or another tier 5, and you're only losing one stat out of poodle, well, 2 stats from the poodle, and then you're still getting your Dober value. And odds are one of those other tier 6s you have are a scaler, so it makes up for that poodle loss. It's really good. Pangolin is super good. He was debatably S tier. Like 5 HP is nothing to laugh at. It's a lot, especially putting it on things like Moth and Ladybug that can generate their own attack relatively easily. You just need his only con is you need a toy and you need a pill. So you need a lot of things to get his value, but his value is so high when it's there. He's still A tier, but it keeps him out of S tier. Owl not being S tier is he's really fucking close. He's the best tier 3 in this tier out of A tier. Me and Sag have played many games, and every time, also me and Kai have played many games, and we look at the history, and that usually the guy who got the Owl wins. So Owl has to be really good. The thing is, Owl starts off kind of weak. He's negative tempo when you buy him. He does scale out of it pretty quickly, but I mean, ideally, you need things to go alongside him. And if you get those things, he is so good. If you get an owl into a shrimp, into a buffalo, or a llama, you're set. You're probably winning that game. But owl without the shrimp, without the llama, without the buffalo is still really good. It's just he's not as game winning. And because he needs those other things to be like his absolute best, he's at the top of A tier and not at the bottom of S tier. Shrimp. Shrimp is good. The thing about shrimp is 2 shrimps are really fucking good, and 1 shrimp is just okay. But like an ideal team, a solid team is having a bluebird, like a level 2 bluebird, an owl, and 2 shrimps, and you buy sell every beaver and every chinchilla you see. It's a solid fucking team. But you need at least 2 shrimps for him to actually become like a good pet. So that's why he's there. You don't even need shrimp 2. You just need 2 shrimps. So it's very doable. It's just getting 1 shrimp and never finding him again means you got to sell out of him quickly, which isn't that bad to do. But his best case scenario requires another one, and then you have to find the units to go along with it, like Beaver and Chilla. Also, Beluga Pill, and that's why he's an A, but he don't get to make it to S. Oh, now we're on Lemur. Lemur is the top of A tier and tier twos. Garlic, turn 3 and 4. It's good. That's as simple as it is. Simple as it gets. Garlic, before anybody else can get garlic, it's busted. And you throw it on like something with a hatching chick. If you also get hatching, eh, you're winning those 2 rounds guaranteed with something like a lemur. I've experimented some with radio mandrill lines even after the flying squirrel nerf. It feels all right. Like if you have a flying squirrel and you get the lemur's radio, you're getting snail value every other turn, which is good. It's pretty solid. On curve, it's one of the strongest toys just for when you get it on curve. Even like behind the curve, it's still a kind of solid toy. So it's a very good toy. Now we have beaver and duck. I'll kind of go over them together. They're just solid. They're stats on future pets. I never combine ducks or beavers unless I have the triple. I just use them. Ideally, I get 2 tier ups. I sell my duck onto those. If not, I'm okay with selling my duck onto a bat, a tabby cat, um, even a lemur, just anything. And same with beaver. He's just stats for future pets. They're solid. That's pretty much it. Ferret. I think ferret is criminally underrated for tennis ball in the first round. Tennis ball in the first round can make you take like bad turn one boards, like like 2 chinchillas and a ferret with a tennis ball. Just fucking helps you win. Yeah, what up, Falcon? How you doing, buddy? We're almost done. We're doing a tier list for Pack 2 right now. I'm going over why all my decisions. I do have something to show you, Falcon, but let me finish this tier list up first because I'm probably gonna make this into a YouTube video, and I don't want what I want to show you into the. I don't want that in the YouTube video. Um, Ferret's good. Balloon's good. Oh, you'll see, Falcon. You'll see, buddy. Uh, but yeah, Ferret, it's solid. Balloon's good. Tennis ball wins you the early rounds. Is That's pretty much it. You can get away with running a shit board all because of tennis ball, and that's really nice. And just stacking him over and over and getting your balloons, just your free balloon stats after the flying squirrel nerf is a pretty solid strat. Um, Now we're at S tier, baby, the best of the best. First and foremost, we got the mongoose. Mongoose in the mirror has lots of counterplay via mantis shrimp and another mongoose. But mongoose into every other pack, there's not a lot they can do. You can put a peanut on a 21 attack unit and kill through melons. You can coconut your 50/50 unit, so it guarantees to swing twice. It has the strongest toys, and the only place that has good answers for it is the mirror with mantis shrimp. All around busted. Dragon, the best scaler. You can get more stats than Ellie Seal can if you just have an Ellie Seal or a dragon. And while Ellie Seal has a sauropod to enable it, the dragon has an owl, and a goat. Both generate gold, which more gold means more tier ones, more stats. He makes the buy sell line unlosable. Like he synergizes with the buffalo and the owl so much, and he can be on any team. He can scale more stats faster than the Ellie Seal can, which just makes him better. The only pro Ellie Seal has over him is Ellie Seal can scale 4 units, where Dragon is only scaling 3 units, but Dragon does it faster, which usually means it's better. Now Octo, the best pet, like the best ability pet in the pack. It's an all-in-one snake. You're just he swings, he shoots. Snake is busted. Octo's an all-in-one snake. It's busted. He's better than Lionfish. You have to get Lionfish to 20 attack before it does the same amount of damage a base Octo does. That's why he's better. He's just the best tier 6 unit to scale. Stingray flashlight is busted. You're getting 6/6 stats in 2 turns. You can do things with like Puma. He also has Stinky Sock, which gives you your skunk. He works super well with Chameleon and Puma. He's the most common onboard toy pet I run. Overall, he's just the best toy pet in the whole pack, or in the whole game, really. Microbe. God, I love Microbe. I call Microbe the great equalizer because if they're trying to peanut scam you, or they have way more equipment than you do, like their team's super equipment reliant, you have Microbe, the great answer, the great equalizer. He just puts weakness on everybody. You have units like Tar, you have Mandrill with Garl, you have Snapping Turtle. You have so many ways to benefit from the Microbe while also just punishing them. He makes Lionfish better, he makes Octo better, he makes Eagle and Beluga Sturgeon better, and he almost always makes their team worse. So he's one of the hardest pets to use, but he's when used correctly, he's a game-winning pet. Caterpillar, he's pretty much in a pack where your late game units are busted. If you have 3 HP on turn 7, you buy a Caterpillar. It's a guaranteed tier 6, and then you'll get 2 gold back. It's as simple as that. And if they're really far ahead of you, you can use them to steal their stats while you catch up. He's all around super solid. Tropfish, he's kind of crazy that I put him this high, but I think stats win games. He just gives you 2 stats every turn. With Bluebird, like Bluebird Tropfish is probably the best line in the pack. It might be random or half random stats, but stats are stats. It's just the best way to start scaling early. The pets in C tier are your pack 2 meta. Yeah, I can see why. Axolotl, Whale Shark, they're the most fun pets, but they're unfortunately not very good. Hatching, an obvious S tier. At level 1, it's just giving you a bunch of tempo. At level 2, it's scaling. And at level 3, if you're not on lethal when you get it, it wins you the game. It generates XP or it generates stats. Until then, it's a lot of tempo. It's really good. Now, the best tier 3 in the pack is Puppy. You buy him, and in 2 turns, you get 2, 3, and you can scale them so you can keep getting those lasagnas. As you level them up, you get more lasagnas. And then late game, you can switch it to toilet paper, and you can have the benefits of a microbe without having the cons of the microbe. Because you at level 3, you can put their front 3 units all get weakness. You just remove the equipment off their first 3 guys. It's super hard to deal with. It helps beat things like coconut and peanut. It's super good. I rarely go for level 3 hatching, but when I do, it usually means I won the game. Then we have Beluga. He's a 2/3 that summons a 2/3, and you can pill him. You can buy a Beluga, pill a Beluga, and then sell it, and that's a 1 gold sell because the Dolphin has rice. It's good with shrimp for that. It's good to level Beluga to 2, and when it's time to get rid of him, you have an open board slot, you pill him, and you sell both the Dolphins with rice. You get 6 gold back. He's like a pseudo goldfish and a tempo unit all in one. Overall, very solid. Then we get the Toucan. Toucan is cracked, like passing a meat bone. Super solid. He has synergy with Tabby and Ladybug. If you scale Toucan to the late game, you can put Peanut on him and pass the peanuts back. That's crazy. It's busted. It's like one of the strongest strategies is to just buff Toucan and then go Peanut. The only real answer in the mirror is to have toilet paper or microbe. That's true. He can follow his nose and find you the cereal too. He's a great mascot. He's a great pet. And now we have the 3 best tier 1s. Bluebird, I'll start with him because Bluebird just gives stats. He's like he's the earliest scaler you can get in the game, I think. He's just constantly shooting out attack. He's super good with Tropfish. He gets you the breakpoints. It's all around just good. Scaling's good. He's a tier 1 scaler. Now, Moth and Ladybug. There are pros and cons to them. Moth's con is his attack is always in the front. There's nothing you can do about it. So the enemy can always position accordingly. And the Ladybug, it needs perks to get to high attack levels. So you need something like a Beetle, or you need to be buying a perk every turn. But you can put the Ladybug wherever you want. But these, if you're scaling an early tier 1, which is a common move in this pack, Ladybug and Moth are the guys to do it on. Gecko is the third, but Moth and Ladybug, when it's hard to get attack in this pack and easy to get health, scaling these guys who can give you attack, it's super good. I bring Ladybug to late game more than any other tier 1. That's why I have him rated the highest. He has a good synergy with things like Axolotl and Elephant Seal. He's all around solid. Um, and that's it. That's all of them. That's where I rate them. Yeah, Ladybug is very strong.